Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com Deep Dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Joining us on the show this week is Central Pennsylvania sprint car owner Gary Kauffman. Before we get to Gary, Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA is your one-stop shop on the way to the races. They have fresh-made sandwiches and subs with all the fixins, perfect for a night at the track. Dottie's has everything you need in one location, including a full-service deli, a wide selection of groceries, and gas. If you're looking to dine in, head over to the Hive Coffee House and Cafe for a great sandwich. There is a seasonal greenhouse on site, and coming soon is Dottie's Crab House, where you can dine in for fresh seafood and all-you-can-eat Maryland crabs. Head over to the corner of Canal and Bull Road in Dover, PA. Dottie's Family Market has you covered. Now here's Gary. Gary, welcome to the Deep Dive. It's a pleasure to have you on.
You too, Jeremy. I'm glad I'm here today with you. It's been a while, but hey, at least we got together.
Yep, and I gotta say, and I was ribbing you about, you're the first person who's come on with a background.
I like to look good.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So, we're coming into the Central Pennsylvania season, so I think it was, I wanted to have a local owner on. We talked last year about doing this, couldn't make it work, so I'm glad we were able to make it work today. But I think, people don't know a lot about you. They think you're just a fruit stand owner, and I know you're more than that. But so I want to start just as a background. When did you first get exposed to dirt track racing? Was this something you went to as a kid? Were you a teenager? When did your kind of that passion for the sport develop?
Well, back in the early 60s, 70s, my uncle used to race go-karts at Hunterstown Speedway, and that's dirt track racing. But as I got older, I graduated from Biglerville High School down here, and us guys would always get together, my friends. Usually on a Friday night, we always went to Williams Grove Speedway, and Saturdays we would most likely end up at Lincoln Speedway. And I just fell in love with it.
So you're 63 now. Sorry, I had to tell everybody your age. But so you were a fan throughout the better part of your adulthood, because you didn't start owning a car, I think, until when, 2010, 11?
Yeah, I was 48 years old when I first started.
So,
So
so that being said, all those years. Now I know you own Sandoz Fruit, so I want to get into that first. So did you go to college and then start working there, or did you just start working there right out of high school? Or take me through that. How do you end up with Sandoz, the fruit stand that's on Danny's car?
well, my father used to work part-time for Ralph Sando, who started the business back in 1953. And I would always help my father, whatever needed done out in the orchards, trimming, thinning peaches, whatever needed to be done. And I was like only 12 years old. And at the age of 13, Ralph Sando, he gave me the opportunity to come here to work throughout the summer. And anytime that I could get away from school in the evenings, I would always come up here and help out with whatever needed to be done. I had to make boxes so we can pack apples the next day, or sweep the porch, or do whatever. And I worked for Ralph Sando for 17 years. One of the greatest guys you could ever work for. He was like a father to me. He taught me how to work. And different guys told me if you could work for Ralph Sando, you could work for anybody, because he was a very strict guy, hard working man. And I could write a book about him today if I had to. But anyhow, he gave me the opportunity to buy the business back in 1991, in which I've been very, very blessed with the business. Yeah, it's hard work, a lot of dedication, taking care of the farmers, selling to the retail customers, the wholesale customers. It's a business that, is hands-on. I mean, I learned it at an early age, and it's not easy dealing with the public, with everybody. It's a new ball game today. And I tell everybody, if I had to start all over with it today, like I did back in 91, I don't think I could do it. I mean, our profit's not here like it used to be. The cost of everything is sky high. But I worked hard throughout the years. I never had anything given to me. Everything I have today, I had to work for in my lifetime.
So, and when we were kind of talking last night, I said, I still think some people don't, Gary Kauffman, Sandoz. Why didn't you change the name? What made you keep it Sandoz? Was it branding?
Well, he started the business back in 53, and I mean, it's a well-known business here in Adams County. I mean, we handle a lot of good fruit and vegetables throughout the year. I mean, he was good enough to sell me the business. Why would I want to change his name? It would always be Sanders as long as I have ownership in it.
So you build this business and you have some other businesses too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I love the outdoors. I do a lot of deer hunts and turkey hunts out in Missouri. I built a new home out there back in, heck, I can't remember, but it's a beautiful home. And I take hunters out there every year to hunt on my properties. And it's something that I really, really like. It's easy money. It's not like working 7 days a week here, 8 months out of the year. And I charge these guys pretty good money to hunt on my property. We hunt trophy deer. We don't shoot deer small. We want 130-inch deer and up. Sometimes it's hard with Pennsylvania hunters. The first deer they see, they want to shoot it. And I said, this isn't Pennsylvania. This is Missouri. Just relax, calm down, be patient. And I really like it. I love it out there in Missouri. It's so laid back. The people are so friendly. I mean, my neighbors, they treat me as if I lived there all my life. It's, I mean, it's a different ball game out there in Missouri. I mean, it's great deer hunting. It's just everything's good out there. I know Danny was out there whenever we had COVID. Danny and the team spent 2 weeks out there in Missouri, and Danny can't understand why I would want to come back home. I mean, he fell in love with
Yeah.
it out there. I mean, it's just the outdoor life is so nice out there.
Well, speaking of Danny, so you're this successful businessman and you go to races. How do you end up owning a car driven by Danny Dietrich?
Well, it's a long story.
We have a lot of time.
His brother-in-law used to work for him, Tim Orner, in which he used to help out Danny with the '88 car, I think, and when he ran the 358s. But Tim worked for me, and he always talked to me about racing, and we went to the races together quite a bit, at Lincoln and Williams Grove. And one thing led to another. He said, well, Danny might want some sponsorship. I said, well, bring him up some evening. We would sit down and talk about it. Well, one thing led to another, and I figured, what the hell? Why don't I just buy a car and let Danny run it? So that's pretty much what I did. I had a brand new Morton building built over here for the business. I think it's 40 by 75, and it became my race shop. We started out, we didn't have anything. So I more or less gave Danny my credit card and said, here, take it, go do what we need to do. So he went and, hey, it's how we got started. I mean, hell, we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to win any races or not. It's just that, I invested a lot of money in this racing team. We had to buy everything. We didn't have anything. So Danny did a great job. I will give him credit. He went out there, he worked his butt off, and I can't ask for a better driver with his trust, our relationship together. He's like I am. We like to win. We get irritated once in a while when we're not running good. I mean, some days we don't talk. We just stay away from each other because I know he's upset, he's not happy, and I'm pissed off. But as years went on, I mean, I kind of settled back a little bit and told Danny, I said, hey, this is your team. All we need to do is win races, pay our bills. I mean, that's the most important thing. And we've been very, very successful the last 15 years. I mean, we built a pretty good team here in Central PA. We have a lot of great sponsorship, in which, I thank them every time I see them. And we have a nice crew put together, and we just built a great team.
So you start this 410 team, and you didn't go buy new motors right away. Like you bought some used stuff, and you were telling me last night that, like, that was one of the biggest mistakes you made, the leading into that first year.
Yeah, I will never forget this. I still have the paperwork in my office. We went out and bought three motors off of Dick Leach, in which Doug Esch was his driver, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made. I wish we would have just went out and bought two brand new Don Ott motors to start off fresh. We would have been a lot farther ahead because we spent a lot of money on those used motors. It was a big mistake.
And was it, I mean, did it just not run well, or just not up to your expectations? Take me, I mean, what was it about it that made it,
Hell, we had
you
we
know,
just had a lot of trouble with them. The one motor blew up at Lincoln. The one, I mean, it's just we had so many problems with them. They were pretty well used up, I guess. I mean, it was Danny's thing. I mean, I still blame Danny for the big mistake he made there. We should have just went out and bought two new ones. I wish I had my $45,000 back,
I mean,
but
back then that wasn't bad, but you said you put a lot
no,
of money into them.
right, exactly. We probably put enough of money into those three motors that we could have bought two new ones back in 2010.
Mm. So you guys start this new team, and you won the first year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think we had three wins the first year. I
Yeah,
think.
you had two, then three.
Is that how it was?
Was there a point in there where you said, I have something here with Danny? Meaning where I mean, you knew him, obviously, you knew who he was, and I mean, you didn't build that bond yet. Was there a point where, even maybe later on in this kind of relationship, that you said, I have something here that could last a long time?
Yeah, the main thing was, Danny works hard. People don't realize how that boy works, man. He's in this race shop pretty much every day, and I'm a kind of guy, I get a little bit frustrated there at the beginning. We weren't winning races considering the amount of money I spent, but we went out and hired a couple different guys. I know we went and got Dennis Kohler to try to help set the car up and get it to go faster. And at one time we had Lee Stauffer kind of helped us out, and he didn't do anything for us that really, that impressed people. And it's just, you know, with Jake and Danny, they work together very well, we um and we have great crew members who really works their butt off. And I mean, that's what really I sat back and looked at. Things started to get better and better as time went on. I didn't know what to expect at the beginning with, a new team. I mean, it was new to me. I didn't know what I was getting into. Oh, I know it costs a lot of money to get started. And do I regret it today? No, I don't. I love it. And I tell everybody, Danny and I's been together for 15 years. We have 150 wins now. There's not too many teams that averages 10 wins per season. And I look for this year. I look to have a better year than what we did last year.
The interesting thing is, it was 2012, only your third year into this pairing. You guys won double digits. You won 10 times. And I think people, it used to be, when Donnie Schatz and, even through the early 2000s and whatnot, Fred, Lance, Greg, all those guys are winning double digits. It was more common. That changed right around the time you guys got together, and double digits became a lot more difficult. And you guys did it in your third season. What made this thing click so fast to be able to do something like that?
Wow, that's a good question. I can remember back in 2012 when the Outlaws came back to Lincoln Speedway. I think it was the
Yep.
first time they were there, what, for 14 years ago.
It was a
And
long time.
Danny,
Yes.
yeah, Danny won the first time they came back to race at Lincoln Speedway. Then the following year, Danny won again. I mean, that's really, really made people open their eyes up and realize that we had a pretty damn good team. I knew we had Ron Frimes building our motors at the time, and I thought Ron did a pretty good job with the motors. It's just that things just started to gel for us. I mean, Danny became a better driver. Became a more patient driver. I always said you can't win it in the first few laps. Sometimes you gotta, pace it out, and when you get the opportunity, go for the win.
The interesting thing to me is the last. I mean, you guys are one of the best. It's right now, and Ryan Hand and I were talking about it on the podcast yesterday. It's you and Anthony Macri here right now, who are the best guys. Brent Marks, he's high limit now, so he's not here uh, really at all, except for maybe Speed Week. But last 8 years, you cracked double digits 6 times. I mean, that you guys are the standard in this area, along with Anthony. Did you ever imagine it would develop into this where when people are talking about the season coming up, you guys are at the top of that list?
No, not really. I mean, God, it's just hard work, dedication to the team. I mean, it's just people, the fans. I mean, really, the fans don't realize how much is involved in getting a car ready for the racetrack. I mean, there's so much time involved. I mean, it's just, you just don't go out there once in a week and get the car ready for Lincoln Speedway or Williams Road. You know, they're there pretty much all week. The team comes here Tuesday and Thursdays to help get everything set up, ready to go. But, Danny's here every day. There's not too many days I don't see Danny over in that race shop.
Well, and he also, I think people forget he works a daytime job.
Yes, he works down there, you know,
Racers.
used parts warehouse, his father's business, in which I guess Billy and Danny's gonna they pretty well took over now, the way I look at it.
So we're going to talk about Danny. Is he misunderstood, do you think, in the racing community? Because we know about the Twitter stuff, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. But you know a different side of Danny. I would even say that I know a little more about Danny than maybe a fan does. But is he misunderstood, do you think, in kind of the racing world, and they don't really know that how dedicated he is to this sport and success and what he's like as a person?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I see Danny pretty much every day, and I know what kind of a person he is. I mean, he's not a bad guy, but I can remember talking to Tony Stewart a couple different times, and Tony Stewart told me, he said, we need a guy like Danny Dietrich here in Central Pennsylvania. Danny makes sprint car racing here in Central PA. You need an outspoken guy. I mean, there's a lot of these drivers, they bitch about a lot of stuff, but they can't speak out. And Danny will speak out his opinions about stuff, in which sometimes he might go a little bit overboard, that I get a little bit frustrated with. But once you say it, you can't take it back. But I don't know.
Uh, is he it? And I'll get to the Twitter stuff in a minute, but you own the team
Right.
and you kind of let Danny build this thing. Was there a point where you were more hands on and then decided to go more hands off? And when was that, if that had ever happened?
Yeah, maybe the first 5 years I was probably a little bit more involved with the team, and I kind of faded away a little bit because of my business and
Mm-hmm.
what all I had going on. I just couldn't do it all. And Danny, I have a lot of trust in him. I mean, he pretty well took the team over. He put the team together, really. Whatever we need, I mean, he just goes out and does it. I don't say, hey, we're not going to go to Sharon Speedway tonight. If you want to go there to race, just go there. Good luck, and I hope you win. I mean, I'm not a car owner that likes to leave the car sit in the race shop. And Danny loves to race, and I I don't miss many races here in Central PA. I mean, I'm at mostly all the racetracks on a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday. About the only races I miss is out in Ohio. I love going to Knoxville. It's close to my house out there.
Yeah.
And, my dream someday would be to win the Knoxville Nationals. I mean, anything can happen. I look down the list who won before. If they can win, there's no reason why we couldn't win. Everything has to fall in place.
Now, Danny's active on social media, and there's times I chuckle. There's times I'm like, oh, Danny. And there's times, I mean, it's the gamut. And there's times I'm like, he's on to something. Uh, how do you deal with that? And are there times where you do get frustrated and go, Danny,
Mm.
what are you doing?
Well, I kind of stay away from that end of the deal. But, I always have fans coming up to me and say, hey, we love you, but we don't like your driver, and Danny can care less, you know. We're
Yeah.
out there to win races. I mean, I always said when you start winning races, people they don't like you, they think you're cheating or they're just not happy. We have a lot of great fans. Our Danny Dietrich fan page is unbelievable. We have great fans. We got people that they go anywhere to watch us race. Then we have these fans that they don't like us. Well, that's okay. We can't have all the fans in the world. Look at Dale Earnhardt. You either like the guy or you hated the guy. And we just kind of overlook stuff, or I do.
I find it funny. I've always said when I write a story, an opinionated story, I want people to like it. I want people to hate it. But when they don't feel anything, I failed. So
Ex-
you could look at it that way. At least they feel some way about you.
exactly. People always tell me, if they're talking about you, it means you're doing something. You're winning. If you don't hear anything about you, there's something's going on. You're not winning. Seems like the more we win, the more the people talk, which is good with me. I mean, look at Bob Weichert. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a guy of his own mind.
I think too, you guys, I think Danny can get away with because he has a cachet. He's won races. If he was never winning, I don't think anybody'd care what he said on Twitter.
I agree with that.
He's earned the right, so to speak.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
sometimes you just got to back up your talk.
yeah.
Hey, if you want to talk about it, just go out there and prove yourself. And Danny usually does it.
How much the Freddie Raymer thing? Okay, I got to ask you about it. They just don't like each other. It's just it's how do you? We had the incident at the Grove, but there's been a lot of them. Where do you fall in this thing? Do you just stay out of that too? Is it just kind of you just don't deal with any of that, or because you're in
Yeah,
the pit area? I mean,
right. I think last year was the first year that we really didn't have any incidents
true.
with the Ramers.
That's
I
true.
mean, I'm a personal person. I talk to everybody in the pits. I don't care who you are. I mean, I know where I came from. I came from the bottom and I worked myself up to the top. I mean, I talk to lots of car owners, but there's only one guy that won't talk to me, and it's Fred Raymer. I mean, am I going to lose any sleep over Fred Raymer not talking to me? No way. If he don't want to talk to me, that's fine. I mean, it's just the way it is. But I don't dislike the guys. I wish them luck. I don't wish any bad thing on anybody because it's a dangerous sport, man. I saw 3 different people killed ever since we've been racing, and it bothers me at times. It's anything can happen at any time.
You've developed I don't want to some type of father son relationship type, or you're like a second father almost to Danny. Is that accurate? And do you worry about him out on the track because you are so close to him?
Yeah, he is like I have a daughter, Courtney. She just turned 30 years old, and she works here with me at the business. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better child. We never had a fight. I mean, she's just a hard worker, very intelligent, smart. I mean, she makes things so much easier for me here with the business because she could do computer work like you wouldn't believe. I'm not, I'm old school, man. I got to think twice before I even turn one on. But yeah, Danny's like a boy to me. I mean, I have kind of took him under my wings. He was only like, I guess he was about 20 years old when he started to drive for me. And 16 years together. I mean, yes, I do worry about Danny on the racetrack because man, some of those wrecks, they just scare me. It's just that you just never know. Anything can happen.
You mentioned the 16 years. I'm Donnie Schatz. Of the prominent teams in this country, your relationships lasted the longest. You're like 16 years, going into 16 years now. Did you ever imagine that you would be doing this that long with the same driver and kind of in this relationship that you're in and winning this many races along with it? It's really the total package.
No, like I said, when we first started off in 2010, I had no idea where this was going to lead. I mean, Danny would even say this to you today. I mean, hell, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know we were going to end up with 150 wins so far, and we have a lot more years left in us. I mean, Danny's 36 years old now, and every year he asks me, "How long you want to do this, Gary?" I said, "Well, Danny, it's up to you." Whenever we both decide we don't want to do it anymore, I think it's time for us to walk away from it, and you can do whatever you want to do, and I can enjoy my life, whatever I want to do. But Danny wants to race for another 10 years, so he's just in his prime right now. He feels like his good years are ahead of him, and I feel the same way. I mean, I just think we have everything in place now where we can start winning, you know, 10 to 20 races per year. There's only one problem. We need the time better. And
Oh
we got,
God, I don't I talk about it every year with him.
I know, and I don't understand why. I would pay somebody big, big money if they could just set that damn car up for time trials and just get the hell out of our way. Go leave. We don't need you. But I don't know. I just don't know what it is. But with our new motor program this year, I think we're going to be a lot better timing,
I'm
in
going to
which
hold you to that.
I sure hope so.
I'm going to hold you to that. And the first
All
time you
right.
don't, I'll be over at the trailer looking at you going,
What happened?
what happened? But, um, you've been around a while now. Um, Kind of shifting to some general racing stuff. Do you get calls from tracks? Are you one of the owners? People maybe talk to you about the sport, what a track should do? Because some tracks reach out, or do they just reach out to Danny?
Yeah, they pretty well reach out to Danny. I mean, I don't get too many reaching out to me. Um, they reach out to Danny more than anything,
Okay. Is
which
there
is okay with me. I mean, it's because I don't have time to listen to it anyhow.
so do you are if you were in charge of Central Pennsylvania, well, Central Pennsylvania, what would you change?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Man, I
No
don't know. We
no
got,
time trial shows. I
I can, that would benefit us. I really don't know what I would change. I mean, we got some of the best tracks in the country. I mean, overall, Port Royal's probably the top of the line. We like Port Royal. We love Bath Speedway, Lincoln. We like Stillings Grove. We always race good at Stillings Grove. Seems like Williams Grove's, I don't know. They lost a lot of fans over the years. It's not as good as it should be, but it's a Friday night race, and we go there on a Friday night to race. Do we want to be there every Friday night? Not really, but we don't want to leave the car sit in the shop, so we don't have much of a choice.
Speaking of that, I've talked to you many times at the track, and you're not a points racing guy, or you haven't been lately. Where does that come from? Is it just a case of we won championships, now it's time to do other stuff?
Yeah, we pretty much go where the money is. I mean, we could be at Lincoln Speedway every Saturday night if we wanted to, but Port Royal, I tell you, they have some good money races there, and throughout the season, and we want to feel comfortable there at Port Royal. It's a great track, but it's so far away from home. You go to Lincoln Speedway, we're home within 20 minutes. But when you go to Port Royal, it's just, it's a long night. But, we got Wikers Livestock as our top sponsor, and we need to spend time at Port Royal just for their sake. And, we like it there. It's just, it's a long night.
Now, last year you won the Weicker. And what was that experience like for you as an owner? And was that the biggest win of your career? I know monetarily it was, but in your mind, I know you have a national open win. Uh, was it the biggest win that you've had as a car owner?
Well, in my book, it is. You win $75,000. I mean, to me, it's the biggest win for us as a team. Winning the National Open back in 2016, I think that was only like 25,000 because the one day was rained out, and
Yeah.
beating the Outlaws at Lincoln Speedway 2 years in a row, back when they first came back to race. I mean, that's two big wins for me as a car owner.
What was the back to the Weicker? What was that night like? Because it wasn't a gimme. You had a late restart. Tyler Courtney was coming. Uh,
Mm.
Port Royal, Danny doesn't have a ton of wins there. It's not that he's not good there. A lot of top fives. Maybe wasn't one of the favorites going into the thing. But again, you had the Weicker car, the special paint job. Everything just went right. Danny did a good job behind the wheel, and you beat High Limit, a strong field of cars. What was that whole night like for you? It just seemed perfect.
Man, it was a great night. I mean, everybody was celebrating. The fans went wild, and it's a difference. It's just like winning the Super Bowl, man. You got that feeling inside your body that's, man, this is unbelievable. I never, did I think we were going to win it? We had a chance, but I didn't know when Courtney got by Danny and the yellow came back, and then we had that restart, and which Danny had a good restart, and he kind of pulled away from Courtney there, and I mean, it's a dream come true. Like I said, on any given night, anybody can win, and everything just worked out for us that night. And it was the Weichert race. It meant so much to them. And hey, I got up in the wing, man. I was celebrating. It was. There's not too many people my age who do what I do. I will back it up. So there you go.
Are you, is the racing season too long? Do you think? And so,
Well,
I mean, this weekend's rough, and the
I
weather's been up and down and all around, and we go until November. You're an owner. You're fitting the bill, along with sponsors. Is there a threshold when the season gets too long?
yeah. Once we get through, once we get into October, it's time to quit. It's high school starts.
Yeah.
Everybody's at the football games. There's the fans aren't there like they were before, and I just feel we start off too early. I mean, like this weekend, are we going to race? I think we probably will. Maybe I don't know, but I just wish we wouldn't start so early. Everybody's worried about the icebreaker. Well, when it's only 40 degrees there, I mean, it's cold and I don't want to go there if it's only 40, but if we're going to be racing, I will be there because I don't miss many races.
No, I didn't see you in Florida though.
I did see you in Florida.
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw you. Well, I'm
Yeah, you
old.
were eating ice cream. I mean, you wouldn't even offer to buy me an ice cream cone.
That's right. I
I
do
mean,
remember. I saw you one night. Yes. I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
surprised Danny every year. Danny always wanted me to go to Florida. Why don't you come down to Florida this year? Nah, I don't know, Dan. I never lost anything in Florida. I mean, if I'm going to go to Florida, I'm going to lay on the beach. I'm going to go where the sun is. I
Yeah.
don't, I love the beaches. I said, I won't. I mean, at least Stauffer told me a long time ago, if you want to go to Florida to race, expect to lose money because you're not going to go down there and make money. And I never forgot that statement. I always tell it to Danny, but he won't listen to me.
It seems like he controls the schedule.
Right.
Is there any race where you say, look, we're going to this race? Have you ever butted heads on a race where you wanted to go and he didn't, or vice versa?
Not really. I know sometimes Knoxville, sometimes he doesn't want to go to Knoxville, but it's a long trip, probably like
Yeah.
1,100 miles from here out to Knoxville. But, my dream some year as a car owner is to win the Knoxville Nationals. Look at Donnie's shots. He won 11 times. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think about, how good he is at Knoxville. It just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, him and Steve Kinzer and Doug Wolfgang and Danny Lasowski are the best guys I've ever seen at Knoxville. Those four guys.
Right. And when you're out there at Knoxville, you're with the best of the best, really. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, you got to time and you got to put yourself in a position to start up front. You got to pass cars. I mean, their format out there is, sometimes you time too good. You got to start eighth in the heat race and
Yeah.
you got to finish in the top three. I mean, it's tough. It's not
Yeah.
easy.
Especially depending on what night you go.
Exactly.
So your team, I've been told, and I've talked to Danny enough to know he doesn't just spend money frivolously. He thinks about this a little bit like a business. Is that the case? And is that something you maybe instilled in him, or do you think it comes from his father who raced as well to not just spend, but to kind of think about where the money's going?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't mind Danny spending money if we're winning money. We just don't want to go overboard. And I have always said this in my mind, and I've said it to a lot of people when the time comes where we cannot pay our bills, it's time for us to quit. And Danny does budget money very well. I mean, he's a businessman. I mean, he's like I am. I mean, we know what it takes to run a business, and there are certain things we would like to have, but if we don't have the money for it, we're not going to spend the money on it. Can we? Yes, we can if we wanted to, but we kind of have a budget where we don't want to just go out there and just waste a lot of money if it's not going to pay off.
Well, and just making the bottom, I think you can go down a really bad hole spending a lot of money in this sport and just never making it back. It just seems like that, even at a local level, it's easy to get too far behind. Do you kind of look at some teams and just shake your head a little bit?
Man, I told different people if I was a car owner and raced at Williams Grove and Lincoln Speedway twice a week and you only have one or two wins all year, I don't know if I could do it. But the cost of everything today, I mean, if you don't have the sponsorship, if you don't have the money behind you, I don't see how you could do it. I mean, we've been very, very fortunate with, winning with great sponsorship and Sandoz, if I need to reach in my pocket to help pay bills, I do it. But we always find a way to get through it.
I see the car in the background. It's a little different this year. Do you have any input on the paint schemes, or do you get to at least say no or yes? Or does Danny handle all that as well?
Well, Danny always shows me pictures of it before we do it. Do you like it? I said, hell, I don't know if I like it or not. I need to, I like to see things in person. Then I will tell you if I like it. Um, Last year's car, black, I liked it. I thought it looked really, really nice. This car, I mean, I kind of got used to it down there in Florida. The more and more I look
Yeah.
at it, the more and more I like it. I think it's pretty sharp.
I liked, you guys always have a car that makes sense. Like when you had the red and white, and it was predominantly white. And then you had the red wing over the white. I like that. And then you had the blue. That looked good. And then, of course, last year, this year, it's taken me a little bit to get used to. You know,
Right. I agree. Dan and I had a few talks about it, but he said it's gonna look he said it's gonna look nice on the racetrack. That's the most important thing. I said the most important thing is keep it up front, put it in victory lane where it belongs. And looking forward to 2025. I'm very optimistic. I feel we have everything in place as a team. I think our motor program is going to be better this year. I mean, we're set to go. I mean, we're set for the whole season.
Is the only thing that needs to improve the time trialing? And was that something you guys focused? Now, you said you changed your motor program. Was that different motors or what? Is it something that you guys really put an emphasis on in the off season and kind of got together and talked about?
Yeah, Daddy knew. I mean, Danny and I we always talked about time trialing. It's his low thing in sprint car racing. And this winter, I mean, Danny went out of the way and we did some things with the motors. And I think when it's all said and done, I think it's going to work out really, really, really good for us. We went out and bought three Speedway motors, and I feel for half mile tracks, they're a hard hitting motor. They hit harder than a Donop motor, and I just felt in half mile tracks we were lacking a little bit of speed.
Well, you do run on a lot of half miles too.
Exactly, we do.
Why is he so good at BAPS, Lincoln, places like that? To me, now I've always said it's because he and he's not going to like this. He reminds me of Fred Raymer a little bit in that he's a driver. He's not a time trialer. But if you put him in a field, he's going to pass cars. Do you view that kind of as his strong suit and what makes him as good as he is?
Yeah, I don't know why we run so good at BAPS and link. Well, I think the main reason is we get into lap traffic a lot
Yep.
quicker, and Tony Stewart told me one day that Danny's one of the best guys going through lap traffic. I talk to Tony occasionally, and he said one thing about Danny, he definitely gets through lap traffic a lot better than a lot of guys ever will, and it wins races. I mean, I don't like to see lap cars. I mean, they scare me more than anything. Main thing is you got to get by them. Sometimes you don't know where they want to be on the racetrack, and I'm a kind of guy I get pissed off if somebody blocks us or they're in our way. I mean, I'll even go up and tell them, hey, get out of our way. You know,
You know they don't
They-
have rear view mirrors.
I know. Sometimes it's pretty hard.
I do. I just like that you're I because I've been in the pit area and it's just funny to me.
Right.
But you mentioned that you'll do this as long as paying bills, obviously, as long as the finances make sense, but also as long as Danny wants to do it. And it's funny, he once told me he didn't want to be racing when he's 40, and now he's 36, and he's 10 more years. Um, it just seems like you two are content with each other. There's not this, I never hear rumors about you guys splitting up. And I hear all that stuff with a lot of teams. It just seems like this is the perfect marriage with two guys who they don't maybe look similar on the surface, but you guys both competitive, both business guys. It just seems to work. And it seems like you want to continue it as long as you can.
Yeah, I'm going to go as long as Danny wants to. I have always said this to different people, and if Danny he's my only driver that I will ever have as a car owner.
Okay.
Whenever he's done, I'm done. I mean, I just don't want to pursue another driver. I mean, if it comes to the point where, I don't ever wish, injuries on anybody, but if Danny would get hurt, we might need to put a guy in the car just until Danny comes back.
Mhm.
If that's comes down to it, we will. But as a driver, owner, Danny and I he would be my only driver.
Why is that?
I just feel, I've been in it a long time, and we did so much positive stuff together, and we won a lot of races together, and I just don't want to start over fresh again. I'm content. I want to win more races. Danny wants to win more. Hell, I didn't know we were going to win 150 races. I didn't know if we were going to win 10, but here we are at 150, and we're going to move forward.
Yeah, I
We're
think
going
you
to,
told me last night you want to get to 200.
yeah, we want to definitely get to 200. and see what happens afterwards. Maybe we want to go to 250. We don't know. See what happens. What the way things are today, we just don't know down the road. We take life sometimes too serious. I mean, sometimes, you know, I I just think back like, man, we just got to take one day at a time because we just don't know what's going to happen down the road. Life's short at times. I lost my brother this year, which, him and I were best friends, did so much stuff together out in Missouri, and he was only 69 years old. And, there's not one day goes by that I don't think about him. I have my two farms out in Missouri. I talked to Wayne, my brother. I said, Wayne, what should I do? He said, please don't sell those farms. You just keep on hunting. He said, we got lots of memories, and, it hurts. It definitely hurts when you lose one of your best friends.
How important was it having Danny and racing during that difficult time?
Well, I mean, I know Danny won that. My brother got to see Danny win the last race at Williams Grove. I wasn't there that night. I was with my brother Wayne because I knew his time was
Yeah.
about up. And he was very emotional there in Victory Lane. He said this was for, Wayne, which I was at home with Wayne. We watched the race and it meant a lot to me. But Danny's very emotional too. I mean, I'm a very emotional person, more than what people thinks I am. I mean, I tell everybody I'm a lover. I'm not a fighter. That's just the way I am.
Well, you've done a lot for the sport with this team. 16 years is a long time. And we just don't see that anymore. And it sounds like there's going to be a lot of years left. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show and kind of giving us a look in, behind the scenes a little bit to your history and also Danny a little bit as well as I'm sure he frustrates some people, and he's he's an interesting character.
Yeah, it's amazing, in the pits, how many drivers that comes up there to talk to Danny. They need this, they need
Yeah.
advice, and I think Danny does a lot for sprint car racing here in Central Pennsylvania. He does a lot for a lot of these different teams. They sell them parts, and I mean, Danny gets to see these guys pretty regular. And sometimes I told Danny, I think you're doing too much for these drivers. Just let them learn, let them learn it themselves. You know, someday that guy might be beating your ass. Who knows? But we got a lot of good competition here in Central PA. I mean, there's some good teams, and it's not easy. I mean, there's some upcoming stars here in Central PA that's they got their stuff together.
Yeah, I think Troy Wagaman looks really good. I think Chase Dietz is another one. We'll see how he does in the Stamen car this year. So, oh no, I do think we have some younger guys now, and it's kind of good to see because we needed it.
Right. Yeah, I think Chase would do very well in the 23 car. I mean, Chase is a good, smart driver. His grandfather told me sometimes he doesn't use his brain very well, but I think Chase is a great driver. I think he settled down a little bit, but I think he's going to do very well in the 23 car. And Troy Waldman, yes, he's had a great year, and I look for Troy to be, to win some races. Why wouldn't he? I mean, he has a great car owner, and he's a smart driver. He doesn't tear up much equipment. And that's the way we look at it. I mean, Danny doesn't tear up a lot of equipment compared to some people. I have always said, man, some of these drivers, they tear up so much equipment. How can they keep a car on the racetrack? As a car owner, I wouldn't want to pay their bills. My God, they tear stuff up every race or every other week.
It's funny. Danny usually isn't at fault when he gets in a crash. He's usually coming in late. He's pretty good at that.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And I
Yeah,
think that's an underrated quality.
exactly. Yeah. So it's a good thing for us because we don't want to tear up stuff because, man, you
Yeah,
got to
but
rebuild everything overnight to be ready to race the next day. It's not our cup of tea.
no, you guys got other stuff to do.
Exactly.
So, Well, Gary, I want to thank you for joining us on the show. I appreciate. I know you weren't feeling well last week. Hope you're feeling well now. And hey, we might see you at Lincoln this week. We don't know yet.
I think you probably will at least one day.
One
And
day. Yep.
yeah, I tell you what, I started to get sick before I went to Florida, and I should have stayed home, but I had plans to go to Florida, and I went down there, and I didn't feel very well. I mean, you don't feel good. You go to the races and eat dirt all night. I mean, Volusia was a dirty racetrack, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was fast. I mean, it was first time I was ever there. Will I go back to it? Most likely. Do I want to? Probably not. But Danny said he's ready for next season to go back to Volusia. I said, I guess we will.
Well, how about you get through 2025 first?
We will. We're gonna we're looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to having a great year.
I have you in probably 10 to 12 wins.
All right, I'm gonna up it a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well,
You
you
want a
have it.
number? You want a number?
Go. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say 15.
All right. He's done that
Okay.
once.
Yep.
He's done that once.
That's my goal, but I don't like to set goals every year. Every time I set goals, they don't work out. But I will say I'm figuring on 15 wins this season.
All right.
All
I'm going to
right.
hold you to it.
You hold it to me.
I will definitely do that. And again, I appreciate you joining us on the show. A lot of good stuff. And we'll see you at the track this weekend.
All right, Jeremy, thank you. And we're looking forward to a great year.
Sounds good.
Take care. All right, take care.
You
Bye
too.
now.
That's going to wrap up another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com deep dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Thank you very much to Gary Kauffman for joining us on the show. A lot of good stuff there. If you like the content on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also check out our daily exclusive content at SprintCarUnlimited.com. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Deep Dive.